I've never exactly gotten the appeal of Collect-a-thons, nor have I felt any attachment to most platformers. Rare titles like Banjo-Kazooie and Conker, for example, I'd merely bounce off of. A majority of platformers I have talked fondly of mostly have platforming pushed aside in favor of combat or have a general aesthetic I wind up gushing over. To use an example, Mario Sunshine was something I cherished as a child. I used to put so many hours into it after school, especially around summertime. Sitting alone in my air-conditioned room, taking as much Capri Sun and cookies as I can handle, and just having fun. Sitting in front of my old CRT TV till I tired myself out. But, you know, now that I'm aging relic at the senior age of 20, I have found myself getting impatient with it and the genre as a whole in recent years. I thought to myself, maybe I have gone too old, and maybe that I'm above something so simple-minded. And I don't exactly want to paint myself as an elitist, but I think at the heart of it, maybe I really did feel these titles weren't worth my time or energy. Maybe I did have a preconceived notion that I am above these, fucking children's games where you jump around and collect coins. But really, having a mindset like this may have been the problem, not the games themselves. I couldn't really find fault in this logic for quite a while. That was until I played a Hat in Time, and yeah, I genuinely mean that. Call it the Blackjack Redemption arc, or the time for Blackjack to stop being an egotistical little brat. I myself quite like this title. But we'll shorten it for brevity's sake. Hat in Time was developed by the Denmark-based team Gears for Breakfast. The game was essentially a desire to return to the era of Collect-a-thons, citing Psychonauts, Spyro, and Banjo as its main influences. Which I find funny, maybe it's just my young age showing, but I feel a greater sense of love towards the GameCube era with this game's style. Core movement options, especially the belly slide and general mobility, is akin to Mario Sunshine, let alone the safe transitions being a one-to-one recreation. I've had multiple friends cite the art style as reminiscent of Wind Waker, and even the Queen Vanessa section feels like a wholesale homage to Luigi's Mansion. Feels a little odd that they wouldn't give that factor much attention, but for all I know, they could just be afraid of Nintendo's cold iron grip attempting to shoot down the project. Capitalism. And despite being a major success on Kickstarter back in 2012, the game was extensively trapped in development hell, lasting all the way to 2017. I'm only just now getting around to it in 2020, which, hey, isn't exactly the worst time for it. The game did get 2 wholesale expansions, one of which being my favorite part of the whole experience, if I'm gonna be honest, but we'll get there in due time. Starting off proper, you play as an unnamed alien girl known as the Hat Kid. Honestly, just don't think about it too hard. Also, don't think about the mods from some of my stream footage I used. Mafia break into her ship, this causes a leak and gets them sucked out of said ship, thus giving you the age-old goal of collect your f***ing pennies, peasant. Get the timepieces, go back home. That's how it be. I think the best way I found to structure this video early on is on a point and counterpoint basis. Early on last year, I had said, and I'm gonna do my best to impersonate myself from back then,
I like the gameplay, but the personnel and voice work makes me cringe.
Alright, a little headstrong, a bit narrow-minded, and overly dismissive, but I think I see where I was coming from. This part of the story checks out. Even back then, I admired the gameplay and its addictive nature for good reason. In most platformers, I found the gameplay to be against me, I suppose I'd say. When I generalize the genre as a whole, my first thoughts are how janky and simple-minded most of them tend to be. Even when it's not raw platforming, I suppose the sensation that one false move could cost me my time ends up hurting me. That or you can be painfully stiff and slow like Banjo-Kazooie, there's fucking always that. It's often a genre that doesn't lend itself to complex mechanics, but more so, focuses on timing and imposing limitations on the player. As a dork boy for character action and hack and slash titles, games that ask a lot of you as far as skill and combo memorization and countering go, this is a major stepping stone to cross overall. As I said, I don't exactly want to paint myself as an elitist, but it's pretty sus and hard to deny with this in mind. These two have no correlation, but as a slut for the Devil May Cry games, stepping down to something more simple and ask less of you is admittedly tough. This isn't a defense of that dense mindset, but rather to get you to understand where I might have been coming from preference-wise. And let's bridge this gap a smidge with Mario Sunshine's movement. as I'd wager that's the tightest feeling platformer I had played beforehand. Sunshine had a relatively strong balance of a decent speed, jumps gaining height with repetition, and a flexible array of movement options. The feeling was restrictive in the sense that jumping in a direction other than forward would slow your momentum, but that's a given. You need a good sense of push and pull to your movements, otherwise it'll be too straightforward and, easy to go through. I'd say Hat in Time supplies that, but it's far more smooth and relaxing when it comes to going at a diagonal angle. But the same can't be said about the sides and behind. It's also got such a smooth moonjump feel to it, and adding a double jump always helps. The base movement speed is hard to quantify, as I feel the additional mechanics are, addictive in nature. The speed of this game is unlike anything else. While it's a shame there's no triple jump equivalent, something I always loved about 3D Mario titles, the belly slide is something this game wouldn't be the same without. Functionally the same as Sunshine's, but you sprinkle in the max act mechanic of DMC 4 and 5, and you have a match made in heaven for me. Run, dash, hit the dash again upon hitting the floor, and you'll get an additional roll to keep you flying. Keep the rhythm going, and you'll be gliding through each area. There's a double jump as well, so that's always a plus. And while there's no flood pack, the central gimmick here is hats. They're mostly used as a call and response puzzle mechanic. See an ice platform, use the ice hat, and so on. But the sprint hat coupled with the Vespa badge, again, match made in heaven. Absolute, unbound speed. You can't dive directly out of it, but man, I must have spent 75% of this game speeding around on this thing. There's nothing quite like it. And while I haven't touched Mario Odyssey, this is personally my favorite gameplay for a 3D platform I've played thus far. Now calling back to my past self-statement,
The personality and voice work makes me cringe.
I really can't say I agree with this, as I feel the personality is what sucks you into the experience. Mustache Girl in the Mafia as an introduction initially put me off, as the gimmick can be a bit overbearing and stiff as an introduction, given, the accents being a bit cartoonish and exaggerative. Generally speaking, it tends to lead to some one-dimensional characterization, which, let's be real, Healthy Some of the cast isn't exactly spouting some Yoko Taro level of philosophy and character depth, but I feel they tend to be enjoyable on the level you'd have with a Paper Mario character. Again, minus the depth. Standouts include Conductor, Snatcher, the Yakuza Cats, and Hat Kid herself. Conductor being played by Zainer Mobish should tell you all you need to know, but the man managed to make every interaction with this weird bird person entertaining. Snatcher, I feel, in any other game would be an obnoxious Sans Undertale clone, but I actually found myself wanting more from him and his surprisingly aggressive yet charismatic demeanor. I'd stand around and listen to each and every piece of dialogue from the cats, observing how their cute little society of dumbasses function similar to the seals. And Hat Kid, while not entirely mute, has a cute dorky personality mostly shown through her expressions and little actions. She's not hard to love, and I feel they handled the subtlety of her shitposty character quite nicely. Honestly, it's hard to openly dislike anyone in this game up to this point. I'm a bit apathetic towards DJ Grooves, yeah, but there's no characters you can quote me on hating. I don't want to spend all the time in this video on these little guys, as I really feel a lot of the charm comes from experiencing them firsthand. Hat in Time doesn't exactly have one major story to pace along, but is both a detriment and to its benefit. However, I found the climax to feel a bit disjointed as a result, but I'll keep the details on that slim. Outside of the core, if you want lore that I feel really helped pace things along and would even make the finale feel less abrupt, you'll have to collect storybooks within the bonus stages. It feels kind of odd. Platformers aren't exactly a genre to put its plot out on the forefront, and this is an independent game after all. But some of the bits of lore here really give some weight to each of the world and its characters that was lost otherwise. How Snatcher came to exist and the residents of Subcon Forest Depths, Grooves and Conductor's Past, how Mafia Town came to be. These ones make up for some simple and sweet world building, and also have I mentioned the surreal and lately mature tone this game takes sometimes. I thought beforehand that the Cat Crime Syndicate was the tip of the iceberg, but Subcon Forest can get shockingly dark. Scenes like sneaking around Queen Vanessa or the murder mystery really show why this game is T for teen. Let alone Mustache Kid planning to disembowel the f***ing Mafia Boss. But let's focus and get less strangely but refreshingly morbid. The real weight that the finale needed is locked behind these storybooks. The aforementioned how Mafia Town came to be. That's a big deal to Mustache Girl. It's why she was so integral from the start and during the climax. But the game doesn't really keep her in frame enough for us to care, let alone what exactly happened to her outside of these storybooks. It's a bit odd, and probably my only real nitpick towards the game and how anticlimactic it can be, while being overly climactic. Point is, Mustache Girl probably should have been shown up in each zone, maybe hanging around or hiding and observing you like Makoto did in Persona 5. The storybook probably should have been worked into the plot itself, at least for her, and then maybe that climax could have felt more earned rather than a half-baked fit of passion. Additionally, I recall griping about the art style and environments back then, and yeah, that take was cold as well. I imagine that was just my inner contrarian talking and the fact my eyesight was ass before I started wearing glasses. Regardless, the graphical fidelity isn't the best out there, I'll admit. But to expect so much from a newborn studio is kinda disgraceful, given what they did accomplish with this engine in mind. The designs are pleasant, and all the illustrations from Jenna Brown really gave it such a cute identity. Griping about Mafia Town and citing it as a basic style is just such a basic notion in and of itself. In reality, it's a distinctly layered area. It creates a tasteful spiral and lends itself to some easy footing for beginners. It's not exactly super expansive and easy to get lost in like Subcon Forest, which on that note, thank God for the inclusion of that area because I honestly haven't seen a fun, impressive, spooky location in quite a while. Twilight Town and part of Joyland Fun Park are the last ones in recent memory I've walked through, and needless to say, the gap in time is wide. But each area and timepiece adds a fantastic sense of variety from point to point. It's kind of surprising seeing all the new objectives and quirks the game throws at you. Variety really spices up each zone and keeps them feeling fun. One second you're collecting evidence to solve a mystery, the next you're tossing mail at ghosts, or you're stressed and running away from a marching band. Each location and quest is distinct from the last, and I love the difference in tone and scale between all of them. Comfy Cruises, Subcon Forest, Cat Japan, fuck it, alright. I'm talking about Yakuza now, because it's legitimately my favorite part of the whole experience. I've been patiently waiting to find the time for talking about this, but better now than ever. The base game is absolutely a great time and all, but whereas I was initially playing and recording footage off my PS4 for this, I bought the PC version just for Yakuza alone. I won't even lie. Black Cat Japan is the Blackjack natural habitat for real. I could walk around and free cam this location for hours on end, which I honestly did. It's such a fun take, and I'd wander these streets peeking at all the foods and characters wandering around. I have such a strong bias towards lovingly crafted city locations in games, especially Japanese ones for the architecture and dreaminess of it all. But this one really elevates the personality and busy feel of it. Every time I thought I had gone through every zone of it, another whole area would reveal itself for me to run through. Could have maybe had more story content to it too, but the sandbox is fun enough that I can push that aside. I really couldn't get enough of it and loved every second of it, even despite the anticlimactic ending, which in all fairness got me to laugh at least.
We'll meet again, brat.
And that's the real ethos at the heart of it, yeah? Having a chill experience, running and collecting, and having some good laughs along the way. Before giving this game the time it honestly deserved, I think that's just what I couldn't see. I had no chill. Collect-a-thons and platformers really are just a relaxing time at the end of the day. Not every game has to be boundary breaking or complex. Sometimes you really just need to put something on and have some innocent fun. Take a breather, rest up and mindlessly collect for a little sense of accomplishment. There's a lot to appreciate here, and I wouldn't want to boil it down to just an average platformer, really. It certainly opened my eyes to the genre more, not unlike Doom has for the first-person shooter genre, or Marvel vs. Capcom for fighting games, or SMT for JRPGs. It certainly wasn't love at first sight, and I had a ton of apprehension. But once I just learned to stop worrying and really explored it, I found a lot to appreciate about it. I'm not sure if I could say the same for everyone, but I think I got that spark back that I had growing up. Deep down, I felt like I could see the sunshine in this genre again. I felt like I got my time back. And all that said and done, this is how I learned to love a hat in time. Hey, hope you enjoyed the new video, and don't mind my voice here. I finally got my new microphone, but of course this happened a week after recording. Gonna take me a bit to get accustomed to it and adjusting my audio effects, but we'll see how it goes. It's a whole process. I had to wait 3 months for this thing anyway and paid far more than originally intended. This video had a bit of a different direction than usual, especially in regards to editing, though I hope you'll view it as a nice evolution to my means of presentation and such, especially with incorporating Photoshop elements and whatnot. Anywho, I'm quite tired and admittedly a little bit anxious about this whole fucking mic recording thing, because it's so out of my element to be using a proper cardioid microphone and all this XLR and audio interface stuff. It's a whole weird thing. It's a whole weird thing. But if I have time for it, there might be a new video or two popping out soon after I release this video for Patreon. I'm not 100%. At most, I might record it and then, make it at a later date, but we'll see. The reason being is I'm gonna be taking a week's vacation afterwards. My boyfriend is gonna be visiting me, and I think it'll allow me to recharge my batteries and such. And I'd feel bad working and stuff when he came out all this way to visit me and whatnot. Anyway, I'd like to thank my patrons as per usual. I really couldn't do these videos without them. My top ones this month are Garrett Gage, Nishiko, and Pep21. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider following me, check out my other stuff, and sharing around would really help, to be honest. I've always been kind of unknown for the past 2 years and all, so it'd help immensely. Thank you for the support, and I'll see you around. Oh, and I do have a Halloween special plan for this month still anyway. Bye-bye though. Bye-bye.